They always say betrayal never comes from an enemy. And for the longest time, Lauren believed that too. She believed it so deeply that when everything finally collapsed, when the messages came out, when the room fell silent, when the tears started sliding down her face, she didn't cry because she was angry. She cried because she was embarrassed that she didn't see it coming. The night everything started, she walked into the restaurant smiling, makeup flawless, heels clicking confidently on the tile. It was supposed to be a welcome dinner, a simple, warm gathering, a celebration that she had returned to the group after months of traveling. Everyone stood to hug her, everyone except the one person she was excited to see the most, Yara. Lauren noticed it instantly. The shift, the stiffness. The way Yara's eyes avoided hers, as if she were looking at someone she barely knew. But Lauren brushed it off. Jet lag, maybe. A bad day. Something unrelated. Something forgivable. If only she knew. The problem with betrayal is that it always starts quietly, softly, invisibly. Like a hairline crack in glass, too faint to notice, but under pressure, that same crack shatters everything. For months, Lauren had trusted Yara more than anyone else in the cast. She told her things she wouldn't even say to producers. They weren't just friends on camera. They were friends in ways reality TV rarely allows people to be. They exchanged voice notes at midnight. They vented. They comforted each other through stress and the chaos of filming. She believed they were unbreakable. But the night of the welcome dinner proved otherwise. Lauren settled into her seat, laughing with the others, catching up on who had argued with who had unfollowed who, and who was secretly seeing each other again despite claiming they were done for good. Everything felt fun, lighthearted, normal. Then, Yara made her move. It started with one sentence, one tiny, sharpened remark, but it hit with the force of a slap. I just think some people only show their nice girl act when the cameras are on. The table fell silent. Everyone knew who she meant. There was no subtlety in her voice, no hesitation in her glare, no confusion about the target. Lauren blinked, stunned. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. She searched Yara's face for some kind of miscommunication, some hint of sarcasm, some smile that said, "Relax, I'm joking." But there was nothing. Just cold, narrowed hostility. The others shifted in their seats, glancing between them, waiting. Lauren finally asked, "Is that directed at me?" Yara leaned back, crossed her arms, and said, "If the shoe fits." There are moments in life where your chest doesn't just tighten. It caves inward. The air around the table became heavy. Conversations halted. Cameras zoomed forward. Producers leaned in from the corner. They knew this was gold. But all Lauren felt was a mix of confusion and hurt that made her stomach twist. But she kept her composure. She swallowed the sting. She smiled, barely, and told herself she'd talk to Yara privately later. But privately was no longer an option. Because while Lauren was trying to calm herself, someone else at the table pulled out their phone. A quiet whisper, a slight nudge, a message passed under the table, a screenshot, and then another, and then another. One castmate slid their phone discreetly toward Lauren and whispered, "You should see this." Lauren hesitated before looking, but when she did, her heart cracked clean in two. It was a group chat she wasn't in. A group chat where Yara had spent weeks tearing her apart. Lauren stared, unable to blink. Screenshots showed message after message. Not jokes, not misunderstandings, not light teasing, but venom. She's so fake. She acts innocent, but she plays everyone. She cries for attention. She thinks she's the main character. She's exhausting. She's lucky production still wants her this season. Lauren's hands trembled around the phone. Her throat tightened. She wanted to stop reading, but her eyes stayed glued to the screen, drawn to the wreckage the way a body is drawn to staring at its own wounds. The betrayal wasn't in the words themselves. It was in the author. It was in the name at the top of each message. Yara. Lauren felt her breath growing shallow, her vision blurred, sound faded, the restaurant noise, the clinking plates, the chatter, it all vanished. She heard only the pounding of her heartbeat in her ears. When she finally looked up, her eyes met Yara's. For a split second, Lauren thought she saw guilt, shame, maybe even regret. But then Yara rolled her eyes. That was the moment everything changed. Lauren stood up so quickly, her chair scraped the floor. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't cause a dramatic scene. She simply said, "So this is who you are." And then she walked out. Behind her, the chaos ignited instantly. Voices rose, people argued, a producer rushed after her. Cameras scrambled to follow. Castmates debated which side to take. Some insisted it was all a misunderstanding. Some claimed Yara was just venting. Others swore they had warned Lauren for months that Yara was two-faced, but none of that mattered. What mattered was what happened the next morning. When the tell-all filming began, everything Lauren tried to process privately was about to be dragged under blinding stage lights, broadcasted, dissected, memed, clipped, and judged by millions of strangers. The set was buzzing when she arrived. Crew members speedwalked with clipboards and headsets. Makeup artists dabbed foundation on already stressed-out faces. And the cast, every single one, whispered as she walked by. Lauren didn't say hello to anyone. She couldn't. Her chest felt hollow. Her mind replayed the screenshots over and over like a punishment. When she took her seat on the couch under the hot lights, she felt like she was about to be interrogated, not by the host, but by the entire world. And she wasn't wrong. The moment the camera started rolling, the host jumped directly into the drama. No warm-up questions, no breathing room. "So, Lauren," the host began, holding a stack of printed screenshots like they were holy documents. "We all saw the leaked messages. How are you feeling today?" Lauren swallowed hard. She inhaled slowly, and then she told the truth. "I'm hurt, and I'm embarrassed, because I trusted someone who spent months pretending she cared about me, only to talk about me behind my back in the cruelest way possible." The room reacted instantly. Some gasped. Some shifted in discomfort. And Yara, sitting just 4 feet away, rolled her eyes so dramatically it was almost theatrical. When the camera turned to her, she smirked. "Lauren is dramatic. She knows I vent. Everyone vents. She takes everything so personally." Lauren's face stayed expressionless, but her heart hammered in her ribcage. The host raised an eyebrow. "These aren't mild vents, though. These are detailed attacks." Yara shrugged. Maybe she shouldn't act like a victim all the time. The audience murmured. Even the crew members stiffened. There are moments on reality TV when lines are crossed so boldly that even people paid to be neutral can't hide their reactions. Lauren turned toward Yara slowly. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands didn't tremble. She had reached a point beyond tears. "You said you cared about me," she said softly. "You said I was your closest friend here. You called me your sister. And for months, you smiled in my face, while typing paragraphs about how much you hated me. That's not venting. That's intentional." Yara scoffed. "Oh, please, don't exaggerate." One castmate suddenly spoke up. "She's not exaggerating. We all saw the messages." "You were brutal, Yara." Another added, "Yeah, you went after her character, not her behavior." Another, "You made it look like she was manipulating everyone." The pile-on began. Cameras moved frantically to catch every angle. Yara's expression hardened, then cracked, then hardened again as she attempted to maintain control. But control had already slipped out of her hands. Minutes later, the host read one of the messages out loud. A long one. A particularly cruel one. And that's when it happened. That tiny, fragile restraint Lauren had been holding on to snapped. Her voice broke for the first time. "I defended you," she said, wiping at the corner of her eye. "Even when people told me you were using me for storyline. Even when others warned me you were talking about me behind my back. I defended you. Because I believed in you." Silence fell over the room. A painful silence. The kind that lingers in the air like smoke. Yara opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it. Her jaw flexed. Her eyes darted toward the audience, then to the cameras, then back to Lauren. For the first time that day, she looked truly uncomfortable. She tried to save face. "Okay, fine. Maybe I shouldn't have said some things. But you're sensitive, Lauren. You always twist things." There it was again. The deflection, The minimization, the gaslighting. Lauren shook her head. No, I didn't twist anything, and you know it. You spoke about me with hatred, and you smiled at me like we were sisters. That's not normal. That's not healthy. And it's not friendship. The host cut in. Do you understand why she feels betrayed? Yara exhaled sharply, like she was exhausted by the whole thing. People talk. She's making it bigger than it is. Lauren let out a small, bitter laugh. You made it bigger than it is. By sending paragraphs about me. By dragging my name in a group chat. By turning people against me while pretending you were on my side. She paused, voice softening. You didn't just betray me. You humiliated me. Those words hung in the air. Yara didn't respond. She couldn't, not without making herself look worse. And that's when the final blow came. A castmate from the end of the couch spoke up for the first time. Quiet, gentle, honest. Lauren wasn't the one who leaked the messages. Someone leaked them because they felt bad for you, Yara. That says everything. The room froze. Cameras zoomed. Yara's face drained of color. And she knew. She knew she had lost control of the narrative. Lauren wasn't crazy. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't twisting anything. She had been betrayed. Deeply, publicly, unforgivably. The tell-all ended hours later. But the damage lasted far beyond the stage lights. Friendships shifted. Alliances broke. And Yara's reputation, once polished and adored, fractured under the weight of her own words. But Lauren? She didn't seek revenge. She didn't gossip. She didn't attack. She walked away with dignity, knowing she had spoken her truth. And that is the thing about betrayal. It destroys the one who betrays long before it destroys the one betrayed. Because betrayal exposes character. And once character is exposed, there is no unseeing it. Lauren learned that the hard way. But she also learned something else. Sometimes losing a friend is the only way to find your freedom. And she wasn't about to lose that ever again. When the studio lights finally dimmed and the audience began filing out, Lauren remained on the couch for a moment longer than everyone else. Her hands rested on her knees, fingers lightly trembling from the adrenaline that hadn't yet faded. She wasn't crying, she wasn't shaking, she wasn't even angry. She just felt empty. Silence after chaos always feels heavier than the chaos itself. A producer approached her quietly, kneeling slightly so he could speak at her eye level. Do you need a moment, or do you want to head backstage? Lauren blinked slowly. I'm fine. I just need to breathe. But the truth was, breathing didn't feel easy anymore. It felt sharp, like each inhale scraped against something bruised inside her. She finally stood and made her way behind the curtains. She expected to walk into another storm. Castmates arguing, Yara screaming, someone trying to defend her. But instead, she stepped into a room buzzing with whispers that all stopped the second she entered. Everyone turned toward her, not with pity, not with judgment, but with something closer to respect. One castmate walked up first, someone who had never been particularly close to her before. Hey, I just want you to know what you did out there. That took strength. Another nodded. You kept your composure. I would have lost it. Someone else added, she expected you to yell. She expected drama. But you spoke with truth. That's why she couldn't fight you. Compliments were supposed to make her feel better. But instead, they made her feel the weight of everything she had held inside. She managed a grateful smile, but inside her chest felt tighter. When the group dispersed, she went to the dressing room to change out of her outfit. The instant she closed the door behind her, the quiet swallowed her whole. And then she finally exhaled, the kind of exhale that collapses a person. Her knees nearly buckled as she leaned against the vanity. Her reflection stared back at her. Beautiful makeup, perfect hair, flawless eyelashes. On camera, she looked unbreakable. But the woman looking back at her now looked wounded. Not because of what Yara said, but because of what she meant to Lauren before all this. She whispered to herself, "Why would you do that to me?" The question wasn't rhetorical. It was a genuine plea, a desperate attempt to understand the cruelty of someone she had once loved like a sister. She sat on the small couch, hands clasped together, as the heaviness in her chest grew unbearable. She wasn't crying yet. She was still holding on to the last threads of strength the cameras had forced her to maintain. But strength feels different when there's no audience demanding it. A soft knock at the door snapped her out of her thoughts. She wiped under her eyes quickly and sat up straight. "Come in." It wasn't a castmate. It was Andre. The moment he saw her face, his hardened expression softened. He walked toward her without speaking and sat beside her, not touching her, not crowding her, just sitting there, offering space without demanding anything in return. For a long moment, neither of them said a word. Then he spoke quietly. "I saw everything." She nodded. "You handled it with more grace than anyone else could have." Lauren looked down at her hands. "I didn't feel graceful. I just felt broken." Andre shook his head. "No, broken is what they wanted. You didn't give them that." She let out a humorless laugh. "Trust me, I feel broken." Finally, she let herself lean into him, her head resting on his shoulder. And in that moment, away from the lights, away from the staged reactions, away from the audience, Lauren finally cried. Not dramatically, not loudly, not in a way that would go viral. She cried softly, tears soaking into the fabric of his shirt as he wrapped an arm around her and held her close. "This hurts," she whispered. "It hurts so much." "I know," he murmured. "But you didn't deserve any of it." She nodded into his chest. "She was supposed to be my friend." "I know. She lied to my face. For months." "I know. And everyone saw me defending her when she was the one stabbing me in the back." "You trusted her," he said gently. "That's not something to be ashamed of. It means you have a good heart." "But it made me look stupid." "No," he said firmly. "It made you look loyal. She's the one who looks like a liar." Lauren took a shaky breath. The crying slowed. The ache remained. She pulled back slightly, wiping her cheeks. "What happens now?" Andre hesitated. "Now? You heal? And you stop giving your loyalty to people who don't know what to do with it." Lauren bit her lip. "But the cast, the audience, the entire internet is going to have opinions." Andre cracked a small smile. "Let them. They weren't in the room with you. They didn't hear the things she said. They didn't see how much you invested into that friendship." She shook her head. "She's going to twist everything. She's already posting, I'm sure." "Then let her twist," he said calmly. "Lies don't age well." Lauren almost smiled at that. Almost. A soft vibration buzzed from her phone on the table. She didn't want to look. She wasn't ready to see the comments, the hashtags, the clips being shared. But curiosity won. She picked up the phone. A flood of notifications filled the screen. Messages from castmates, DMs from strangers, mentions on social media, articles already being written. But one message froze her hand mid-scroll. A DM request from Yara. The preview of the message was only 2 words. "We need to talk." Lauren stared at it, feeling her pulse throb in her throat. Andre leaned slightly to see the screen. "You don't owe her anything." Lauren exhaled. "I know. Don't respond." "I know." But her thumb hovered. Because no matter how much pain she felt, no matter how much betrayal she had endured, no matter how many receipts had been exposed, there was still a part of her, the part that cared, that wanted closure. Even though closure from a betrayer rarely brings peace. She locked the phone and set it down slowly. "I'm not answering," she said firmly. Andre nodded. "Good." But she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. Not for Yara, not for the cast, and definitely not for the story that would follow them into the next season. Because betrayal doesn't end when the truth comes out. It ends when the consequences begin. And the consequences? Lauren stayed quiet for a long time after Andre left the room. Her eyes followed the slow sweep of the overhead light across the empty dressing area. It felt too calm for the amount of noise still spinning inside her head. The kind of quiet that made her ears ring because her thoughts were louder than anything around her. She reached for a tissue and dabbed the last traces of mascara from under her eyes. The tear tracks were gone, but the heaviness was still there. A tired heaviness. A heavy you feel after a betrayal that changes the shape of your chest. She kept taking small breaths, but each one felt shallow. Her phone buzzed again from the table. She did not want to look, but she did. Because you always look. Even when you know you will regret it. This time, it was a message from her sister. I saw the episode. I am proud of you. A small smile tugged at her lips. The first real smile in hours. Then another notification appeared from a different app. A trending alert. Her name was climbing. Fast. She clicked it. The top clip showed the exact moment her face froze when the private messages were exposed on the stage. The audience gasping in the background. A slow zoom. Dramatic music someone added for effect. The comments were a wildfire. Lauren deserved better. This broke my heart. Why did Yara do that? Protect Lauren at all costs. Team Lauren forever, mixed with the less kind ones. Both of them were messy. They all loved the drama. None of these friendships are real. She knew this would happen. She tossed the phone onto the couch and pressed her palms to her face. The noise of the public was starting again, and she was not ready to be dragged into the tide. A soft knock sounded on the door. She tensed. Who is it? It's me. Alexei. Her shoulders dropped. She opened the door, and the moment he stepped inside, he wrapped her in his arms. She melted into him in a way she could not with anyone else. He smelled like home, like their kitchen, like the life she built before cameras and drama. He pulled back enough to look at her face. You are pale. I'm tired. You are hurt. She nodded, eyes burning again. She didn't even hesitate. She threw me under the bus without blinking. Alexei's jaw tightened. She made you feel stupid. She wanted you to look confused in front of everyone. She wanted to win, and she still lost. Lauren shook her head. I don't know if she thinks she lost. People saw what she did. Lauren sighed. The internet sees what it wants to see. He touched her cheek. Then focus on what you know is true. She leaned into his touch. He had always been the steady one. When she got overwhelmed, he grounded her. When she spiraled, he reminded her she was safe. But even he could not take away the sting of this betrayal. She sat on the couch again. He sat beside her. Did you talk to anyone else? He asked. Everyone said they are on my side. But that does not fix what happened with her. She was never a real friend. She was, Lauren whispered. That's why it hurts. Alexei stayed quiet. He knew better than to argue with her feelings. He put an arm around her and let her speak when she was ready. I defended her when no one else did. I stood next to her every time she cried. I helped her when she had no one. And she paid me back by humiliating me. Alexei looked at her. If someone betrays you this deeply, they were never deserving of the effort you gave them. Lauren blinked slowly. Then why do I feel like I am the one who lost something important? Because you did. You lost the version of her you believed in. Lauren felt that sentence settle in her chest. She didn't respond. She just let the truth sit there. And somewhere inside her, another quiet realization formed. The kind that makes everything shift. Alexei checked his watch. We should get going. They want us in the car in 10 minutes. I know. He stood first. She stayed seated. You coming? Yeah, she murmured. I will catch up. He nodded and left the room. The door closed again, and the silence returned. Lauren reached for her phone. She stared at the screen as if waiting for something to happen on its own. Her thumb hovered over the DM request from Yara again. The two words seemed heavier now. We need to talk. She felt her chest tighten. Talking meant reopening wounds that were still bleeding. Talking meant giving Yara a platform to defend herself. Twist the story again. Reshape the narrative to her benefit. Talking meant handing power back to the person who hurt her. She locked her phone and shoved it into her bag. This time, the decision felt firm. She stood and looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was tired, but her posture was straight. Her eyes were red, but her expression was steadier. She whispered, You are done letting people break you. Her reflection stared back. And for the first time since the betrayal, she felt something close to control returning. She gathered her things and walked out into the hallway. The cast members were scattered around, still buzzing with leftover tension. Cameras were being packed up. Producers were whispering to each other. Security lingered near the doors. Elizabeth noticed her and walked over. "Hey," she said gently. "Before you head out, I wanted to tell you something." Lauren stopped walking. Part of her braced for more stress. Elizabeth took a breath. "I didn't know any of this until today. No one told me about the messages. No one told me what she did to you." Lauren swallowed. "It's fine." "No," Elizabeth said. "It isn't. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of that." Lauren nodded slowly. "Thank you. And if she tries to flip the story online, I won't let her." "You don't have to do that. I want to." She crossed a line today. Lauren exhaled. "Everything feels surreal." "I know, but you were the one who walked out of there with dignity." Lauren almost smiled. "That's what everyone keeps saying. Because it's true." Before Lauren could respond, a producer called for Elizabeth. She gave Lauren's hand a quick squeeze and walked away. Lauren continued to the exit. When the doors opened, the chill in the air hit her skin. It felt refreshing, like the first clean breath she had taken in hours. She climbed into the car where Alexei was already seated. He took her hand. She let him. The car pulled away from the studio. For a long time, she watched the city pass by the window. Lights blurred, cars merged. People crossed streets unaware that a piece of her life had shattered tonight. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it. Another buzz. She still ignored it. Then a third. Alexei glanced over. "Do you want me to check?" "No," she whispered. "I don't want anything from tonight to follow me home." He nodded and squeezed her hand. But the phone did not stop buzzing. The notifications built, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Lauren finally looked. This time, it wasn't Yara. It was someone else. A castmate who had stayed quiet during the entire drama. A castmate who rarely got involved in conflicts. The message preview read, "I know something you need to hear." Lauren's heart flickered. She clicked it. The message opened. "What I'm about to tell you will change how you see the entire situation. There are things you don't know." Lauren felt a cold ripple move through her. She replied, "What things?" The typing bubble appeared instantly. Then the message dropped. Yara wasn't acting alone. Lauren's stomach clenched. Another message came through. She had help. Lauren stared at the words as the car moved through the night. A quiet dread settled in. This betrayal was bigger than she thought, much bigger. And she wasn't done with the fallout, not even close.